time for a Tuesday teaching tidbit. And it's Wednesday afternoon. I've got a little busy, and my granddaughter was around. I'm in the sun here too, so it's actually Wednesday afternoon. But I'm going to be real quick. Here's the deal. I want to share with you real quickly. Um, I shared this at our message over the weekend. Is that we are like the term Christian. I shared this a little bit in other videos. The term Christian is just a label. And a label is like a noun. It's all it is. It's just saying this is what we call this. Doesn't mean that's what you can always mislabel something. Have you ever done that or noticed something? Like maybe even in the store, something's mislabeled. May even have the wrong price or be the wrong product. It can be mislabeled. But how our Father deals with us is he deals with a description. Like it's a description, not a label. See, a description is an accounting of who you really are. Think about this. Think about every time the Father talked about who he was. He didn't give himself a label. Like he says, I am the Most High God, or I am the Everlasting God, or I'm the Almighty God, I'm the Holy God. He's given a description of who he is, not a label, but a description. And one of the things I said over the weekend is that even in Acts chapter 4 with Paul and John, they when they go on before like a trial almost with I guess the leadership, the Jewish leadership, the Sanhedrin. I think it was the Sanhedrin, and they wanted to know how in whose name that they had did something, that they had raised this guy in chapter 3 who had been lame and he was over 40 years old, but lame from his mother's womb, and they had raised him up and healed him in the name of the Messiah, of Yahusha. And so here's what the Pharisees were saying to themselves. They said, these are unlearned and ignorant men. He said, but they took note of them that they had been with Yahusha, or the Messiah. So in other words, they didn't have a label. They weren't called Christians at that time. They were called, if anything, they were called by a description, they were called followers of the way. Like, and you notice that ER, that denotes action, followers of the way, not Christian. As a matter of fact, I said this before, that because to me, it's cultural Christianity is the term, and what I'm talking about, cultural Christianity, where you're a Christian in name, and like I think there's a term, Rhino, Republican in name only. They have that name, but they don't act the part. And so I'm saying that was what I guess came to mind. And think about this. As a matter of fact, that when they were talking about the disciples and the believers, they said they didn't call them Christians. They said these are they that have turned the world upside down. They were describing what they did. And think about this too. Again, you can call yourself a Christian if you want. I'm just telling you that's just a label. It's what you do, it's the action. Because here's the action. The action is to love the Adonai, or the Lord your God, with all your heart, mind, and soul, and to love your neighbor as yourself. See, the religious people will call themselves a Christian, but there's no activity behind it. For example, that's why Yahusha was telling the story of the Good Samaritan. He said, like, these religious people, you had the priests and the Levi, they were religious, they called themselves something, but they didn't do what they called themselves. And he was pointing that out. And so we need to just be more concerned, I guess, or not you, but me, more concerned with the description of what people would say about me, as opposed to the term or the title. And because I'm more than a label. As a matter of fact, here's what, and Yahuwah is just so awesome. Think about this. Our God, what he did was he described Abram, even who Abram was going to be. And he wasn't labeling him. He says, here's who you are, Abram. Because his word, when his word goes forth, it won't return to him void, but it'll accomplish what he pleases and prospers in the thing where it's been sent. So here's what he said. He says, Abram, here's your new moniker. Here's your new description. He says, your description is you're the father of a multitude. That's who you are. So this is what I'm describing you. And so again, he did that about himself. He says, I am I'm Yahuwah Jireh, the God who provides. I'm describing who I am to you. That's not really my name. I'm just describing one part of my attribute. When he says, I am Yahuwah Shammah, I'm the God who's present. I'm Yahuwah Tsitkenu. I'm the God who's righteous, and I'm Yahuwah Nisi. I'm the Lord of hosts. I've banners, and on. So that's more of where we should be ascribing to be described and not labeled, because label is label to me goes hand in hand with religion. Whereas a description or who you are, like who you are because of what you do, that's the enemy of religion. And I don't think Yahuwah didn't come to establish religion. He came to establish relationship, and came to establish you so that we can cause his kingdom to come, for his will to be done. That will being done, that's not a noun, that's a verb, that's action and activity. And that's what we want to focus on. We want to focus on the activity of the kingdom. We want to be about, like he was about his father's business. And that's where we've been called to not be called something. Like I said, they said, these are they that have done something. What? They've turned the world upside down. And they weren't Christians. I believe really that when that's what started watering things down, when people started having a label and a title. They're Christians. No, they were followers of the way. That's what they were called at first, because they were describing them, not labeling them. And if you allow someone to label you, and then you start to fit that bill, and that's what Yahuwah did. He gave them a description, not a label. Same thing with Sarai. She was called Sarah because that was a description. She was going to be a mother as well. That was why he changed who she was. Same thing with Jacob. He changed his name from Jacob, the supplanter, to someone who prevailed or struggled. He wrestled with him, and he was changed his name to Israel. And so that's what we again, because that was a description, not a label. So just something I think is to put out there. And if you find yourself being a cultural Christian, like just in name only, but you're not doing the commandments, which is, it says in when Yahushua was talking about it, he says the two greatest commandments are to love the Lord your God, or Adonai, your God, with all your heart, mind, and soul, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And those words are action words, not labels. Like it's not like I'll share this in a second. And then he said, but on these rest all the commandments. Because of that love, you're doing things because of that love. So think about this. With my wife, I tell her I love her. Like she says, "Oh, honey, put the trash out," and I just give her this label. I don't do the action. I just say, I love you. Every time she tells me to do something or asks me to do something, could you buy me this? I love you. But I don't follow through. So guess what? That's just a label. But if she sees me doing the things that she needs and desires and wants, then that becomes a description and not a label. It's like, she can't go to the store and say, my husband loves me, and they give her everything for free. It's got to do something. So we should be about our Father's business. We should be able to be described as believers, as followers of the way, and not as Christians. Hey, you can call yourself that. I'm not telling you can't. You can call yourself that if you want. That's not what I'm trying to. But what I'm trying to delineate is that there's a difference between a label or a noun and a verb or a description. One covers the activity or the action. The other just calls is the verb. Is the noun. Just that's the name, and we want to fulfill the destiny that Yahuwah has for us. And you don't fulfill it just by being called something. You fulfill it by doing what he's called you to do so that it can be described. We're a description if we're a true believer and we're not a label. So that's it. I'm going to close out here. Just wanted to make sure I put something out here today. Love you all. Oh yeah, by the way, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, drop a comment, and share the video. Love you. And until next time, if you have any comments or you want to reach out to me, pastor.lshaddai@gmail.com. Love you. Shalom.